is it really better to be self-employed or is it better to be a W-2 employee? Because I know social media and the news definitely make it seem that it's way better to be self-employed than to be a W-2 employee. But that may not be true for everybody, right? Like, I watched this video that I had seen. Of course, I saw it on TikTok, to be honest with you. And I was looking at the views and the comments, and it was gaining a lot of enthusiastic popularity because it was promoting the idea that being self-employed is better than being an employee. And well, again, I'm self-employed, so I may have a little bias to it, but y'all know me. Your favorite Uncle Cousin always says, run the numbers. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to run the numbers and see which is better, being a W-2 employee or being an actual independent contractor, business owner. So in today's training, I'm going to go through a couple of things in which you'll want to stick around to the end for. The first thing is I'm actually going to walk through the numbers of being both self-employed and being a W-2 employee, because the truth may not be as glamorous as they portray it to be, right? Then after that, I'm going to share the considerations of both, right? Like what's required to be great at each. What do you need to be successful at being self-employed? And what do you need to be successful as a W-2 employee? And again, make sure you stick around to the end because I'm really going to give you my honest opinion of the one I think you should be. So let's get to it after the intro. When I come back, we'll get busy. Alrighty, what is going on, fam? Again, thank you for being here. It's your favorite Uncle Cousin, Tyrone Gregory, just in case you are new to the channel, and I am your new favorite Uncle Cousin, the self-employed tax guy. My goal is to simply help you become successfully self-employed by walking you through the reality of what it takes to be successfully self-employed. So if you're new here, I appreciate you new here. If you're a returning man, much love to you. You know, I appreciate all of the family being here with me. So yeah, I want to go ahead and again, this video or this whole training was sparked by a video that I saw on social media that really says that being self-employed is better than being a W-2. And I'm like, is that true? Can we honestly say that, right? So let's do this. I'm gonna play the video for you. And when I come back, we'll talk about it. So here it is.
You live in a capitalistic society. You got to learn this concept. This concept is called income shifting. Income shifting. Income shifting basically means I understand that in America, I only get paid in 3 ways, or there are 3 types of income I can generate in a capitalistic society. The first one is the most popular. The first way that most people choose to get paid is a W-2. Now, notice I said choose to get paid because you got options. It's just that the system pretty much puts you in a W-2 option. That's the one they promote the hardest, also known as a what? A job. Make sense? So this is the job situation, and a job pays you on a format called a W-2. The second way you can choose to get paid in America, notice I said choose, is because you have a choice, is a 1099. A 1099 is also known as a business or a small business. We're going to show you the advantages of a 1099. And the third way that you can choose to get paid is investments. So it's really elementary. Investments, also known as capital gains, appreciation, dividends. The goal for all of us in this room is to take your money from your W-2, invest it through some type of business, and ultimately end up where all your money is making you what? Making you money. That's where you want to end up. You want to make it where the majority of your income is coming from investments. Here's why. A W-2 is taxed the most out of all three income streams. A W-2 is the one that says, I want the government to take my money off the top. So I'm going to give the government 28 to 33% of my income before I see a dime. Now, here's my thing. There's nothing wrong with a job. There's nothing wrong with a W-2. Just know that that's the game that you signed up for when you had more choices. But again, if you have a W-2, it's no problem, but start making your way this way so you can give yourself a pay raise, and we teach you how to do it. This guy right here says, you know what? I'm going to get taxed 15 to 23%. Now, that's way better than 28 to 33, but it's not as good as this guy down here. Money says I get taxed less than 10%. Now, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I have an English degree, not a math degree. But my numbers up here do tell me that if I can get a government less than 10%, instead of giving the government, up to 33%, I need to really start finding a way to give the government less money.
All right. So that's where I'm like, we really got to be careful, right? Because social media says a lot of things. But is that really true? That's what, like, y'all know me. People lie, numbers don't. So we going to run the numbers and see. So if you can remember, in the video, they laid out that W-2 employees, and this is where I have a problem, because they say W-2 employees are almost at the bottom of the barrel. If you choose to be a W-2 employee, there's something wrong with you. Like, that's the undertone I got from that video. Like, being a W-2 employee sucks. And the problem is that a lot of people nowadays are suffering, struggling, trying to become self-employed when they may not necessarily need to, right? So again, my goal is to run through these numbers and let's break down which is better. And of course, after that, we'll go through the considerations because there are some things we need to consider. So in the video, I think he said that the W-2 employees get taxed the most, 28 to 39%. I don't know when that video was made, because the tax brackets definitely fluctuate year over year. But that was it said, 28, as a W-2 employee, your taxes is between 28 to 39% or something like that. Versus as a 1099 or business owner, your taxes are between 15 to 25. And I'm not going to get into the investment side, right? That's something for a completely another day. But on the investment side, through capital gains, it's possible that you can pay a max of 10%. Now, there's a lot of things that go into that. However, like I said, maybe we'll say that for another conversation. So let's go ahead and get into what he talked about. Let me pull up the slides here. So we're now going to explore the W-2 versus the 1099 based on the taxes. So I see a lot of people in the comments say they'll take the 1099 all day. The tax breaks. Unk says, I like the 1099 route. Well, we about to see. We really about to see. First, we about to start with the taxes. So I'm about to put it back out here, right? So when it comes to W-2 versus 1099, and the reason I got the 150 in here, so let me, before we get into it, let me explain. Everybody's tax situation is different. There is multiple scenarios that can be played out: married, single, head of household, divorced and separated, own a home, don't own a home. Too many variables. So I always do the basic, the bottom, the bare minimum, which is single, no dependents. Because when you are single with no dependents, you are at the top of the tax bracket. Your tax rates are higher. You have very little deductions and things like that. So this scenario is for somebody who's single, no dependents. The numbers you can see here, we're starting with 150,000. That's going to be the like I say, the average take home on a W-2. Let's just say $150,000. And again, like I just said, this is the take home, the starting point. Okay? So now that we know that, this is what we're going to do. So for a W-2 employee, most things are the same. A W-2 employee and a 1099 both will have taxable income. And taxable income is different than your earned income because you get to subtract out your deductions, right? So they both will have taxable income. Both W-2 and 1099 employees both pay Social Security. They both pay Medicare tax, and they both pay federal taxes. Only thing I want you to note here is the fact that I did not include states. Why? Because the states vary. There's 45 states that collect tax. There's 5 states that don't. So I wasn't about to put 45 different scenarios in here to talk about the state tax. I would say, write these figures down, run these numbers on your own to include your state tax to see which one is going to be beneficial for you. But the federal is the same across all 50, so we're going to go with that. All right? So also, what we're going to look at is the total taxes paid as a W-2 versus a 1099. And then we'll look at the total percentage of taxes paid. All right, because that's what they said in the video. Your percentages as a W-2 employee is going to be higher than it would be as you are self-employed. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And then we're going to take a look at the total take home. And this is important because at the end of the day, what you take home, the amount that you put in your pocket, that's what's important. I don't care about nothing else, how sexy, how fancy, how everything else. What you have in your pocket when everything is said and done, that is the most important thing, in my opinion. If you disagree, put it in the comment, let me know, we'll talk about it. So knowing that, let's get to the numbers. So starting at $150,000, the taxable income for a W-2 employee will be $137,450. And the reason is because we're doing the standard deduction. And as of this video, the standard deduction is $12,550. So you subtract that from $150,000, and that gives us the starting point for a W-2 employee. Okay? So based on that, they're going to pay Social Security tax of $8,854, which is 6.2% of their total income. That's 6.2% of the $150,000. Okay, not the taxable income, but the $150,000. They're going to pay $2,175 for Medicare, which is 1.45%, and that's of the $150,000. Their federal tax is going to be $27,009. Okay. And again, the federal tax is based off of the taxable income. The Social Security and Medicare is based off of the $150,000. Okay, so let's make sure we understand that. So based on that, the total taxes for somebody who's a W-2 earner is going to come up to $38,000. I can't even talk right. $38,038. That is a combination of the Social Security, Medicare, and federal. Again, if you add state taxes to that, it could be more or less depending on your state. So based on this, that puts them, the total taxes comes up to about 25% of their income based on a $150,000 take home on the W-2. And after everything is said and done, after we take out the taxes and everything, the total take home that a W-2 employee will take home is going to be $111,962. That is what they're putting in their pocket. Put myself on the screen here because I want to make sure y'all understand me. That's what's important. What you take home, what you put in your pocket, because that's what you have to spend. All right, let's get back to it. So now going over to the 1099 side, their taxable income is less than a W-2, and here's why. I want you to see on the screen here, notice for the Social Security and Medicare is 6.2%, right? 6.2% for Social Security, 1.45 for Medicare. That's the half amount. When you are a W-2 employee, you really only get taxed half of that. And so here's the thing. The government says, we understand when you're self-employed, it's unfair that W-2 employees only pay half of that and you pay full, so they give you credit, a credit, non-refundable credit, an adjustment. Matter of fact, to be more specific, they give you an adjustment of half of the Social Security and Medicare tax. That's why the taxable income is a lot lower, because we got to subtract the standard deduction of $12,550, and we also got to subtract half of the Social Security and Medicare tax, all right? So that's why that's lower there. So, but on the back end, they still pay Social Security at the full rate. Notice, their Social Security tax is $17,177, which is the full 12.4%. And again, this is of the $150,000. The Medicare rate is going to be $4,017, which is the full 2.9%. And I'm going to pause right here because you can see the difference. As a W-2 employee, you only pay half. But as a 1099, you do pay the full amount. But because you get credit, remember, the federal tax is based on the taxable income. So our federal tax that we pay as a 1099 is going to be $18,377. So now that we know that, wish I had a drum roll, we put a drum roll up here and we look and see the total taxes paid as a self-employed individual is $39,571. And again, we're adding the Social Security, the Medicare, the federal, the same as we did as a W-2, but the taxes is higher. I'm a pause right there. We want to look at that because on the video, they said that the W-2 employee pays the most, and when you're self-employed, you pay less. Well, I don't know what y'all see, but I see more in total taxes on the 1099 side than I do on the W-2 side. Just saying. And now also, when we look at the total percentage, close run. Right? The video said that the W-2 employee pays a higher percent in tax. But when we look at the total taxes as compared to the total income, the self-employed individual pays 1% more in tax than a W-2. All right? So the take home for somebody who's 1099 is going to be taking home $110,429 versus if that same person earning the same amount on a W-2 is taking home $111,962. Now, I don't know. But just saying, put it back out here, just saying, let's look at the total take home, look at the total taxes, look at the total percentage. Just from a tax perspective, 1099s don't seem to be winning, right? They really don't seem to be winning here. So yeah. Again, just saying, right? I know we gonna talk about it. I can see the comments lighting up. We gonna get there, right? We ain't done yet. Let me grab some water, man. So quick, I know in your mind, y'all thinking of different scenarios. Well, what about this? What about that? And okay, let's talk about it. Quick question before we go on, right? Before we go to the next slide, I certainly need y'all. If y'all here, please comment, because I need to make sure of something. Okay, if you agree, please again leave it in the comments, right? If you have $100. Right, if you have $100, you have two of these, and you spend 50. Right, you started off with two, you spent one. That means you only got this. You only got 50 left. So again, you started off with 100, you spent 50. That means you only got $50 left. right? I need somebody to double check my math. That's what please, in the comments, please double check my math. I'll say it again. If you start off with 100 and you spend 50, that means you only got 50 left, right? Like, please, in the comments, y'all double check my math. I want to make sure that I'm doing this right, because 100 minus 50 does not equal 100. So if you spend 50, you no longer have 100. You only got 50. Am I right? Please let me know in the comments if I'm right. If I'm wrong, somebody tell me. Cause I just want the math to be right before we go to this next slide. If we start off with 100 and you subtract 50, you only got 50. That's it. You don't have 100. You got 50. Right? All right. So we moving on. That's. Let me know. Right? And I can see the comments. I appreciate you. It seems like we all agree that if you spend money, you no longer have it. Period. Right? I'm thinking through the comments. I can see you. We are all on the same page. If you spend money, you no longer have it. Right? All right. Cool. So let's go to the next slide. We're gonna talk about write-offs. Okay? Because this is the thing. People are, oh, well, if I'm self-employed, I get to write it off. Okay? So, but remember, as a write-off, you have to spend money. And the idea is who's pocketing the most money. If you spend money, you no longer have it. So yeah, you can write it off, right? So let's go ahead and get to it. So I just threw some common write-offs on here, right? As a W-2 employee, you know, write off rent, lease of the home, your telephone, internet, your web applications, office expenses, right? And then we'll have total expenses. But here's the thing. So before the Tax Cuts and Job Act, employees did have the option to write things off as unreimbursed employee expenses. But as of right now, or as of this video, that option has been removed, and I think they suspended that option probably to 2025. So employees cannot write off anything at the moment. Okay, so there's no rent, lease to write off, no telephone, no none of that. So an employee doesn't get any expenses, which is okay. Again, we trying to pocket money here. But let's just say it's a 1099, the average rent, lease, and I used my numbers as an example. For the year, comes up to $9,624. Average telephone cost for the year, and internet, $1,320. Web applications on average, maybe $1,500. Office expenses around $1,000. So let's just say yearly, maybe total expenses is about $13,044. And again, every situation is different. Every business, every industry will have a different set of write-offs. There's so many things that you can write off. I just threw some generalities in there, right, just to kind of give an example. But remember, we did all agree that once you spend it, you no longer have it, right? All right, so knowing that, let's look at how the numbers work out. Again, because a W-2 employee does not have anything to write off, everything pretty much stays the same for them, right? Nothing changes for the W-2 employee. Their taxes remain the same. Their total take home remains the same. Cool. But notice, for a 1099, because we wrote off, how much did we say we wrote off? We wrote off $13,444. So now our starting point, you see it here on the top right corner, the starting point is $136,556. So that's now the starting point, right? So now our taxable income is reduced to $91,486. We still paying the full Social Security, but it is reduced because our starting point is now $136,556. So that's going to be our Medicare. Federal taxes went down. Total taxes went down. Okay, to $35,270. But total taxes as a percentage of $136,556 is still 26%. Right? We are still overall in a higher paying total tax percentage than a W-2. And then for the take home is now going to be $101.286. Putting that back out there. Look at that. Again, your goal, right? When it comes to being financially secure, you want to be able to take home more, because then you can do more. And one of the things the video talked about, and I agree with, is definitely, trying to shift income more to the investment side and the capital assets, because the capital gains tax, it is very, very friendly to people who invest. So of course, but look at the difference there. $101 versus $111. That's like $10,000 difference take home. As a W-2, you can take home $10,000 more that you can actually invest, that you can actually put into an investment fund and actually create more lower taxable income. That's something that can be done as a W-2 employee, right? So just a lot. Let me make sure that we understand that, right? Because again, W-2 versus 1099. We can now see from a tax perspective, W-2s is winning. And I hear you, right? There's when you're self-employed, right? There's the home office deduction, because people say, well, the idea behind that is, we're already paying for it, but as a W-2 employee, you don't get to write it off. You don't get to reduce your taxes. That's true. That is a scenario that one can consider. If you're working from home, you get to write off a portion. I'm going to say that because it's not 100%. Is not what people say it is to be. When you're writing off home office deduction, it is a portion of the rent that you pay, right? I think we're going to talk about that next time, right? Deductions, because everybody said, the IRS will pay your rent. No, they won't. They are not going to give you credit for your rent, right? Deductions don't work that way. They allow you to reduce your taxable income by a certain percentage, and that's if your house qualifies. That's another thing we got to consider there, right? So we talked about the taxes, W-2s on that one. So now let's talk about W-2 1099 versus, risk and responsibility. What's involved? What are the risks involved in being a W-2 versus being a 1099? A lot of people look down on W-2s because they say that it's easy, like there is no risk, there's no responsibility, but that's just not true, right? I've always said to people, the risk and the responsibility of being a 1099 or a W-2 is the same. When you really look at it and you compare the difference between a W-2 and a 1099, the risk and the responsibility is very minimum. Very minimum, right? So let's go ahead and look at the difference between the two. So let's look at what's the risks that we take. So you run the risk as a W-2 to lose your job. That's 100% possible. You can lose your job as a W-2 employee, right? A lot of people say you're only one check away. Same thing, okay? As a 1099, you can lose your job, right? People say, hey, as a W-2 employee, you're one paycheck away from poverty. Well, as a 1099, you're one customer away from poverty. It's the same thing. Without a customer's business don't exist. W-2 employees have customers. 1099 business owners have customers. If either or decides to leave, no matter whether you W-2 or 1099, you run the risk of losing a job. How many people, look at the statistics. How many people start a business that are no longer in business? So if the risk of loss of job was different for a W-2 than a 1099 employee, wouldn't we have a lot more self-employed individuals? Wouldn't those statistics be way lower, so to speak? Nah, so don't get twisted. The risk is the same. when you are a W-2 employee, you have to have knowledge. Granted, when you are a 1099 employee, yes, you have to have more knowledge. I will give it that. So that is something to think about, right? You, as a W-2 employee, right, you have to know knowledge of the job. You have to know what the job entails. Can you perform the job? Here are the job duties. Like, you can go to, Indeed, Monster, Insights, all of those, and you can look up a bunch of people hiring. They'll give you a list of duties and responsibilities, and ask yourself, can you perform those duties and responsibilities? Versus as a 1099 or a business owner, you have to have that same knowledge. Do you possess the knowledge to do the job that you're doing? And I'll be honest with you. Matter of fact, here, let's go here. I want to talk to you. As a as a 1099 employee, you have to know way more. That's why the plus is there, right? Not only do you have to know the things required to do your job, you got to know the accounting, right? You got to know the finance. You got to know the marketing. You got to know the sales. You have to know a lot more. The responsibility of a 1099 is a lot more, all right? So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. Let's go ahead and get back into it. The next one, rest. As a W-2 employee, right, you were able to get rest because your hours are set unless you're doing overtime. Well, when you 1099, especially if you are a solopreneur, if it's just you, the rest is minimum. People somehow, some way get it in their mind that when I become self-employed, I'm going to work less. That's a lie. That is a lie. I'm telling you, that's a lie. The devil lied. The truth ain't in it. Lord help him. It ain't happening, right? Rest, minimum. Benefits. If you have the luxury of landing a good job, there's benefits, right? That don't necessarily take away from your bottom line. Benefits are there. But when you are self-employed, you can have benefits. You just got to pay for them. They're extra, right? If you want health insurance and things like that, well, you're not going to get the benefit of group health insurance, group life insurance. You're not going to get that benefit. Premiums are going to be a little bit higher, may cost you a little more because it's just you. So you can have the benefits, it's just going to cost you a little extra, right? So definitely keep that in mind. Retirement, right? You can always have a retirement. As a self-employed individual, I hope and pray that you set up a retirement account because it is possible. The same retirement accounts that are available for a W-2, 401k, you can get a solo 401k when you're self-employed. If you want to set up a pension, you can set up a pension for yourself through a self-employed pension plan. You can do Roth IRAs, regular traditional IRAs. So many things you can do on both sides versus W-2 or 1099. So that's pretty good there. What else we got here? The cost. It costs you nothing to be a W-2 employee. But when you are self-employed, it costs a lot, right? Like when you are a W-2 employee, you get up, you hopefully, you got your morning routine, you get up, you go to work, you clock in, everything is there already. The computer is there, the building is there, it's paid for. The printer is paid for, the pens and paper is paid for. That's probably why a lot of people steal it, because it's paid for, so they ain't got to pay for it. Everything is there already for you. You don't have to pay for nothing. You just got to show up, do your job, get paid when you're a W-2 employee. When you are self-employed, somebody got to pay for their building. Guess what? It's coming from your revenue. Somebody got to pay for the printers, the paper, ink, all that stuff. I remember the first time, I bought this printer, because of course I do taxes. I print out people's tax return. I give it to them. And I remember the first time I had to buy ink. I was like, what? How much? What? I'm like, oh, Lord, Jesus, no, people, we about to start doing e-signatures. We gonna go electronic. I ain't printing out nothing. I will, and that's why I set up to this day, I have a secure folder. 99% of my clients, when we sign up, you're going to get access to a secure folder. I'm encrypt their documents, upload them to the folder, and they'll stay there. Printing, ain't cost too much. So when you are self-employed, it's not as simple as just getting up, drink your coffee, you go to work, get dressed, and show up, and everything is already there ready for you. No, when you all this y'all see in here, I had to pay for out of pocket, right? Like that, no employer paid for that for me, right? Even the taxes, this is something to think about when you are self-employed. I know on this scenario, I talked about just the regular federal taxes, but there's so many other taxes you pay when you're self-employed, right? Sales tax, right? Especially if you're in retail. There was a use tax, right? Like here, I'm in LA County, they sent me a tax bill because I have office furniture in my office. And I called the county assessor, like, what's this bill for? And they were like, well, you have an office? I say, yes. They say, do you have furniture where you sit down, a desk, a computer where you meet your clients? Yes. Well, then you're using that to earn income. Well, yeah. And they said, well, that's the use tax. You got to pay that. What? Blew my mind. So there's additional things that you pay for when you're self-employed. So all of that is reducing the amount that's going in my pockets, which is something we have to consider, right? So again, look at all of the things, the risk and the responsibility of a W-2 employee versus a 1099, okay? Then also, forgot one more, joy. When you are self-employed, I will admit that as a W-2 employee, you do have joy. But when you are self-employed, I had to admit, and I could be a little biased, because even though we're looking at all of these things that's different, when it comes to the joy of being self-employed, I think I have more gratitude being self-employed than I did when I was working for someone. Don't get me wrong, I loved my job. I worked with an amazing group of people. We had fun. We bounced ideas off each other. We networked, grew. I had joy when I was a W-2 employee, okay? But I will admit that because I'm self-employed, I have just a little bit more joy, right? I have my creative freedoms and all that good stuff, right? So those are the risks and responsibilities of each. Consider that. Definitely consider that. All right. So what's next here? Let's talk about who won. Who won this race, in my opinion? Well, I'm biased, people. Who won? I mean, y'all let me know in the comments who you think won. But numbers don't lie, people do. From a numbers perspective, just as a standard, I'm going to say, looking at that, right, from this scenario, again, everybody's scenario is going to be different. From this scenario, the W-2 may have won, right, because it's a lot less. But here's the trade-off. Of course, if you are self-employed, if done right, you can make a lot of money. It's possible, okay? But I don't want to discount the fact that as a W-2 employee, you can make a lot of money. So, in my opinion, the only difference, which is one thing that somebody should consider when deciding, do I want to go this route of being self-employed, is the fulfillment. Okay? In all honesty, if I'm being 100% transparent, in all honesty, the only reason I'm self-employed is because I love my creative freedoms. I love the ability to do and experiment to see what works and what don't. When you're in corporate America, they have like groups and teams of people that are already saying, this is what's working, we're now going to do this, and you're confined to a box. Well, if you're okay with that, that's fine. Me, I was like, I want to do more. I want to try more. I want to experiment more. I wanted to do more, and because of that restriction, and I couldn't, my joy level kind of diminished. So I decided to step out on my own, right? And with the help of the YouTube community and all the support that I got from all the fam, which I'm going to give us, matter of fact, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give a shout out to everybody in the YouTube community, the family who showed me support, who encouraged me along the way, who told me I should do this and I can do this. That's the only difference. Outside of that, I mean, the job was cool. I had career paths and all of this, but I just didn't like the constraint. So in my opinion, if you're deciding should you be a W-2 employee or should you be a business owner 1099, the only thing to consider is yourself. Where do you find joy doing this, right? Because don't consider the money. Don't take that as fact. Don't say I can save more in taxes. We weighed that scenario. And I say if anytime somebody presents you with that, like, oh, you can save more as a 1099, run the numbers. You know the deal. Run the numbers. Do like I just did. Run down everything side by side. Make a comparison. And then take into consideration all of the additional risk and responsibility that you'll be taking on your own as you're self-employed, right? Don't just look at the financial output like, man, yeah, I'm going to make $10,000 more, but I'm putting in 100,000 hours more, right? Like you have to look at both sides. You have to look at everything. And if you do look at everything and you say, you know what, I'm going to be better self-employed, then by all means, go ahead. Your uncle got you. As a matter of fact, that's going to be our sponsor for today. Look, if that's the decision that you've made to be self-employed, I'm going to say go ahead, get signed up for the Self-Employed Business Academy. It's coming to you extremely soon, right? But go ahead and get your business plan. You can go right now to the selfemployedbusinessacademy.com. You're going to get your free business blueprint. If you are deciding that, hey, this is the path I want to take to self-employment, get the blueprint. It's a one page of everything you need to do before you launch to make sure that you are successfully self-employed, okay? So we talked about who's won. And let me just give you my honest opinion, right? I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. If need be both. And here's what I mean by that. Being self-employed is difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a joy, right? Like to me, the joy of the journey is what I live for. I wake up and I go to this every day. Some days I don't have no clients. I don't have nothing to do, and I look at it like if I'm not having no clients, that's not no money being made that day, right? So versus if I go to work and I clock in and I have nothing to do, I'm still getting paid. Just think about that. So there are some days, and I'm just being transparent with you, that I come to work and have absolutely nothing to do, no clients come in, that means I'm not making no money, right? So it's kind of like, man, the levels of the thought processes, stress can be a little bit there sometimes. And I'm saying this wholeheartedly, don't let being self-employed go to your head. Don't get an ego. Don't listen to people. We talked about that last week, keeping up with the Joneses. Give them the middle finger. If somebody sit up here and makes fun of you because you're both, they don't understand it. They clown it for no reason. if you are self-employed and you find that you need to get a regular W-2 job to make ends meet until the business picks up, do it. Don't struggle. Don't suffer for nobody. Period. If you are self-employed and you finding that, you know what, right now the revenue's not coming in like I wanted to, it's not a bad thing that you had to go get a job. That does not mean that you failed. That getting a job when you're self-employed does not mean that you failed. It means that you are smart. It means that you are understanding, that you are monitoring your cash flow, and don't let nobody try to make you think different. If you need to, be both, right? Like don't struggle for nobody. I'm really hoping and begging that you hear me. If you start on this self-employed journey, because it is a journey, it's one step at a time. It's ups, it's downs, it's ins and outs, it's joy, it's heartbreak. If you find yourself in a situation where you need to get a part-time job or another side hustle to your hustle to make ends meet until things get to where you want to, by all means, do it. Do it. Okay? And last thing I want to show is this. I really want to show y'all this. I'm going to put this out here. Because when it comes to W-2 versus employee, this is a client of mine's actual W-2 from last year. This is a client, of course. I'm not exposing anything. None of the information is shown here. But look at the number there. This is a W-2 employee. This is somebody who works a regular 9-to-5 job. They are not self-employed. I didn't do no Schedule C's, no 1120s, no 1120S's, no LLCs for them. This is their regular vocation. Look at the number in box 1. $2,289,491.51. That's what they earned as a W-2 employee. Let's look at their withholding. Let's look at box 2. This is the amount that they paid in taxes alone. They paid in taxes $640,825. That is what you can do as a W-2 employee. Box 2, the taxes they paid alone is more than what most self-employed people make in a year. I'm gonna say a lot more, right? But the average self-employed person ain't making $640,000 a year, and yet here we have a W-2 person paying that just in taxes alone. Federal taxes. We ain't even look at box 17, look at the state taxes, right? Let me put that back up there. Look at the state taxes. Another $229,000 added to the $640,000. So this individual paid close to $1 million in taxes alone. My people, be self-employed because you have a heart for it, because it's your passion to be that, right? Don't get caught up with social media, right? We saw the video. If you're just joining us, please watch this again. Go back to the beginning. Watch the video when people talk about income shifting. In social media, they make things sound good. They make it sound sexy, because what they're doing is, if they can get you to the opulence of being self-employed, they can allure you in and be like, all right, this is how we do it. And I'm not mad at it if it makes sense for your situation. But please do me a favor. Before you jump head first because somebody says something and this is better, run the numbers. Run down the list. Like, if I keep my job and I keep going on my career path at this trajectory, this is what my take home, because that's, at the end of the day, how much are you bringing home? How much are you putting in your pocket? That's what's important. If you're going to sit up and say that when I do self-employed, I'm not putting as much in my pocket as I would if I was a W-2 employee, that's something to think about. I'm going to be honest and transparent with you again. In my first couple of years of being self-employed, my take-home pay dropped drastically, reduced. Luckily, I knew this was happening. Me and my wife, we saved up for years because I knew that, I'm gonna one day I'm gonna be self-employed, right? And I know getting it revved up, we gonna take some financial hits. So I took a loss in my income being self-employed, lived off savings, right? So don't just jump into it because that's what's popular. That's the thing. Do it because you got a heart for it. Do it because, man, this is my passion. This is what's going to bring me joy, doing what I feel. This is my thing. This is my creative. This is my baby. This is my project. Do it for that. Because the money, the freedom, the stress, it ain't what they purported to be on social media, guys. Yeah. All right. So, man, I appreciate y'all being here with me today. As always, what I'm about to say. Yes, I forgot to say this right here. We're gonna do this, right? So I want you to do everything that the little bar down there is telling you. Make sure that if you haven't already, give it a thumbs up. Share this video. Share this video with people who are out there talking about, man, I'm about to be self-employed. I'm about to be a boss. I'm about to be on my grind, about to get this hustle on. Share this video with them. Tell them to think it twice. Again, I'm not discouraging nobody from being self-employed. If that's what you want to do, I got you. I encourage you because it is a certain level of satisfaction. It is a certain amount of joy. It does have its freedom. And again, got to find it here. Oh, yeah. Remember our sponsor. Right, if you think you want to go the self-employed route, go to the self-employedbusinessacademy.com. Get your free 6-step cheat sheet that you can form your business without an LLC, right? Without an LLC. Go there, do that. And yeah, man, again, I'm so grateful for everybody who joined, chimed in on the chat. Again, my good people, I appreciate you being here. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, like it, share it, leave comments. Want to know what you think is better. Now that we done ran through everything, now that we done ran through the numbers, which one do you prefer? Still W-2 or 1099 as a self-employed business owner, right? Let me know which one. Know that I appreciate every last one of you being here. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for me, my good peoples. Until the next time, I will see you later. Yeah, I think so. That's it. And make sure also, let me know in the comments, man, do y'all like the 2 p.m. Tuesday tap in with the self-employed tax guy? That is a lot of T's in there, but I kind of like that. If not, we can do this on Tuesdays. I'm trying to figure out the right day that's best for everybody. So leave that in the comment. Let me know as well. And until the next time, my good people, know that I love you, and I will see you on the next one. I'm out.
Perfect.